it was really critical to create kind of structure around my anxiety because I had connected it so deeply with drinking.
My identity has never been challenged as much as it has been like in recovery.
The things I'm learning here, they matter, for my life in general and the relationships I'm developing here.
Yo, I'm Bryce the Third.
And I'm Liz McKean.
And you are now tuned in to the Rise, Recover, Live podcast. Here we dive into all the recovery stories from around the world.
And we talk about all pathways because there's no one right way to recover.
If you've been with us for a while, you know how powerful stories are. So get ready for your community to get just a little bigger today.
We are so glad that you're here. Let's get into the show.
Before we started recording, we were trying to figure out like, okay, what is the topic for today going to be? Liz and I are very alike in a lot of ways and very dissimilar in a lot of other ways. And I think like the biggest thing is like, I need to know what this is. I need to know what it's going to be is the energy that I'm getting from Liz, right? And with me, I can be like, yo, just go with it. Just flow with it. And I think when we talking about like the way that we approach life, at least in my experience, and I'm curious to know what you think about it, like you need a little bit of both. Because if it's just just go with it. Like I'm getting hit up from dance and they asking, do you know about the this event? Do you know about that event? I'm like, no, I don't know any dates because like I seen the emails, but I'm like, hey, I'll just go with it and I'll figure it out as I go. But flip side, if I need to know what everything is before I press record, like I missed the opportunity to be surprised by my capability.
Yeah. It's wild that we're having this conversation because I just yesterday, so I'm doing this mental health program, a graduate degree. And so we do like these practice sessions of, not really counseling, but like, just feeling out what it feels like to, have somebody talk to you about something that's going on with their mental health and then responding. And there's challenges because, when you talk about that, you can be somebody who's great at talking to people about the recovery, their mental health, et cetera. But it's very different when you're in like a professional, like counseling chair and not wanting to give anybody advice or put your own stuff on them. It's just it's a different role to take on. Anyways, I'm just setting the stage for this next piece. So I was in one of those things, but I was the client. I was the person, in, quote unquote therapy and describing anxiety, like the anxiety as I experience it. And I was like, yeah, I have these like, it's like very kind of cyclical, I'll have these times where, especially certain times of the year where I start to not get a great amount of sleep and feel a little more, I don't know, just like reactive to things. Something stressful happens and I just like feel it really strongly physically, even if it doesn't come out outside of me, like inside of me, I'm very bothered by things and just different like tiny little hints and clues that show me that like, oh, okay, we're in it. We're kind of in an anxiety thing. And I know that it'll like take a few days. And if I do X, Y, Z, I can really navigate it well. And then I'm going to come out on the other side and I'm able to almost like I have these like patterns that I'm able to, that I've established, that I know are probably going to be how it's going to play out. And when the person I was talking to was like, that is super different than how I've ever heard anxiety described. Like you've put it in this box. Like what is up with that? Like it's like there's like, this is the pattern. This is what's going to happen. Like you're telling the future, And I was like, oh, well, I think that's how I feel like I'm harnessing control over something that I don't actually have control over, is if I know what's coming and remind myself of that, then it's not as hard. But there also could be an element of that that's almost like self-fulfilling, So it's like, I don't know. It's like that these are tools I've developed. And also these are, I don't know, because maybe I just didn't get a great night's sleep. Maybe it doesn't have to be like, oh boy, here we are. All right, settle up everybody. Like we know how this is going to play out. You know what I mean? Yeah, I agree with you. There probably is a place for both things. And I'm not sure I'm great at that, to be honest.
Who is? I mean, if you point to somebody who's great at it, I mean, maybe they're awesome at that, but I'm sure there's something that they suck at. They probably can't make a a bomb enchilada or something. Like nobody has the entire package. I think when it comes to like, for me, for like high I won't say high stress, but like high, well, maybe somebody might consider it to be a high stress environment where it's like a lot of moving pieces and like you're live and it's like 1,000, 5,000 people out on stage right now and they're waiting for you to come tell them like what's going on. Like we don't necessarily know what's going on, so go and like figure it out. Like I live there, but it's because of some of my own quirks where it's like the newness in that. Like it's an excitement that I'm that feeds to like my desire for like rapid newness.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, cool, I'm excited. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Versus, okay, I woke up today and I'm going to check on all of the partners within the Phoenix app to see how everybody's doing. And it's like the same thing I did yesterday. Like I have to sprinkle in there ways to even make that exciting. So it's like, okay, how can I get a one-on-one call with a person? I don't know what their personality is like. I don't know what they're gonna say. I don't know what they're gonna think when they see me with a backwards hat on as their point of contact. You know what I'm saying? Like that's exciting. But like,
Yeah.
I think we're all different in that way. And recovery and a process of like showing up intentionally for ourselves is that process of like identifying those traits in a way that allows for us to show up with compassion for ourselves, but also like the patience to figure it out. And even when you mention something like how you just mentioned, like that's almost like the process within the process. Like the process of identifying it has allowed for you to bring about at least the ability to show up for it when it pops up. Because like, okay, this is familiar. This is the pattern. And on top of that process and becoming aware of that process has allowed for you to see like, oh, well, maybe that might be causing some of it because, okay, this is how it's going to go before it's even happened that way. And so now more process begins. But once again, that's the privilege of like continuity, the ability to be able to show up today and then again gives you that, like, this is the arena where we figure these things out about ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's exactly, yeah, this is the arena. I mean, recovery like clears space for that arena. And at the same time, I think this particular pattern, cycle, whatever that I identified and like, when I talked about it, it was just funny to have like somebody respond to me and like like surprise, like, wait, what? Like that's not it. That's, I haven't heard that before, because I just was like, well, this is just how it goes. But I think I wouldn't have said that. I've had anxiety since the day I was birthed, like I've never not been a person with anxiety. And yet when I was drinking, it was a great tool for just pretending it wasn't happening. I could just drown it. It'd certainly be way worse the day before, the next day. But I when I got sober, it was really critical to create kind of structure around my anxiety, because I had connected it so deeply with drinking as like drinking is the solution. Feel anxious, use this thing, all better. And so finding other ways to like even, I don't even know, process that it was happening was like a real, I don't know, it was really part of my recovery. So it's just interesting as seasons of recovery continue, one of those things that it's like, okay, does this still need to be the story? Or are there ways that this kid could evolve? Because I don't like everything the same all the time. I like to shake it up too, but I like to shake it up. I don't like it shaken up without me being in charge of it. If that makes sense. I want to be in charge of the chaos and like in any way I can, even if it's just a little bit, Oh no. Anyway, so yeah, I think you're right. We're all different, and like also we're different in different seasons.
Yeah, that part, I think, narrative and identity can sometimes like be an indication of like safety. Like even if it's
Oh yeah.
something that doesn't necessarily serve me. Like, oh yeah, when I get frustrated, I eat Oreos because or, when I get sad, I eat chocolate. Like it's just that's who I am,
Yeah.
and that feels safe
Mm-hmm.
because that, like, it's me.
Yeah.
uh, but I think my identity has never been challenged as much as it has been like in recovery, because there's that voice, that voice of inquiry, like, why? Like when I got sober and I came home to the job that I was working, that I just been working because I just been living and I just been floating, and I ended up here, and a lot of people said that this was the best place to be for life, so here I am. But I came back and I had that voice like, we don't like this. And then previously, where it's like, yeah, okay, let's numb it up, or I need I need this, and let's, of course nobody likes this, but this is what we do to like handle that. But now, without those things, another voice came back like, so what are we gonna do about it? It's like, oh, who has that answer for me? And then now begins this process of like, okay, well, I've been this person for so long. There's so much identity wrapped up into waking up at 6 a.m. and working a night shift, and taking this for lunch, and hitting the gym at the gym every day with my 2 gym buddies, and like there's
Mm-hmm.
so much identity with this guy that I've been hanging with after work, and we sit in the car and we smoke all night and we talk about craziness. That when I got sober, now I'm trying to like, oh, he's a good guy, and I sit in the car with him, and it sounds like he's speaking in hieroglyphs, like,
Ah,
but at one point, like, I really understood that, but I'm no longer him, and so
yeah.
the allowance of who it is that I'm becoming is a process, and
Yeah.
for me, it's just called for a lot of like over and over pressing the restart button, and like softness. I know some people, what's my man's name? David Goggins. You're never done, forever hard. Like some people,
He's like
some
a
people,
cartoon character.
some people need that. But me, I just need softness. I need like, okay, let me breathe. I can start again.
Yeah.
Let me breathe. I can start again.
Yeah.
You know. Um,
Yeah. I think that's the key. Well, for me, is how I feel like start again. Like you can always just, that next breath is a fresh start. And, even it's funny because, when I think about having those moments for myself too, where it's like, oh, I've just always been doing this. Like, does this still make sense for me? Um, it doesn't always even mean like starting again or changing it or doing something about it. It doesn't even always mean like abandoning something, like you're not always able to be like, all right, well, I just woke up and realized I don't want to do this job anymore. Like, wouldn't it be nice to just be like, and so I'm not gonna, but that's not
mhm.
usually the case. But within this recovery uh time that we find ourselves in, it's like you're able to figure it out in another way. Like maybe you pack something different for lunch, or maybe it's
I
just a different
literally did that.
relationship with work.
I
Yeah,
literally did that.
maybe
I
you
went to a
go in
different
and
bathroom, and it
yeah.
was like
Who is
world
this
changing.
guy?
I'm like, what is the urinals? They're
Oh
crazy.
god.
Like, yeah,
Yeah, it's
it's
amazing. Change your
eh,
relationship with the thing by just shaking it up just a little bit. Like it doesn't have to be even anything that on the outside someone else would look at and be like, "Whoa, that guy changed his life." Because they probably didn't say that about you.
and it could be, like literal, like incremental, but bigger things. Like, I don't know if our listeners know that, like, you're back in school. I mean, I know you just mentioned, what you were doing, but like you're back in school, and that's
Yeah.
like that's a big change, especially for what you're going for. So you want to talk a bit about that?
Sure. I mean, I'm just super new in it. I'm like in semester number 2, but I'm getting a graduate degree in clinical mental health counseling. And yeah, it's just one of those things I always kind of thought would be really cool to do. But then, I mean, gosh, I've been thinking I was too old for stuff since I was like 25. I swear, like it's ridiculous, So I decided to wait 20 years and then start it up. Um, yeah, and I think I just never thought I was going to do it. And then one day I was like, I could do that. I could figure that out. And
Mm.
I figured it out. Now I'm doing it. And I also happen to be in a job, I working with Phoenix, and our app has all these partners that deal with, recovery and mental health. So to have a foundation and education in mental health is actually incredibly timely for the work that I'm doing now, and also for what I'm interested in, and also something I could do for a really long time, and part of the part of the human experience that I want to be able to make a little difference in, whether it's for one person or a bazillion. So yeah, so I did it and I'm doing it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and now your I'm sure your days look different.
Yeah.
The things that you find important, the way that you manage your time, and in essence, who you are is
Hmm.
shifting a bit. Like that identity. How even when you were like, for a long time, it was something that I thought I just would never do, and then then I'm like, I could do it, and like the I is different in those two sentences. and,
Hmm.
and I think that speaks to the process of like evolution that comes with showing up for ourselves over and over and over again intentionally.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what else is different about that when it comes to this, just in the context of school? I think one of the things that would hold me back from something like this in the past is that it would feel like what I wanted was the thing at the end of the thing. So
Mm,
like I wanted the degree or the license or whatever that I would get out of it, in this sense to be both. Um and to be like, God, that's going to take how many years? Just felt like, well, I don't want to wait that long, so I don't even want to do it. And the shift that happens for me when I actually do take a step forward into something is that it stops being about the thing at the end of the thing.
mm.
And just like you said, suddenly realizing I can do this and I can be a person who is learning because this is a thing that I want to learn, and I also want to be a person who says I'm going to do something and does it. And so I did that, and it's just today is enough to feel good about that decision. Like the one chapter I read today or something feels really good because I really wanted to read that and I wanted to learn it, as opposed to, the reasons I wouldn't take a step forward in the past because it was just like, I don't want to put, 3-4 years into something because it's just way too much work. And it's not, I mean, yeah, it's a lot of work, but like, when you're looking at it more as something you want to be doing and not something that you want to have done, it's a different feeling.
Yeah, that one gave me chills in my skin.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, cause yeah, I've always. I mean, think about like addiction. Think about alcoholism. Like I want to feel this way. I don't care how I do it. Like I just want to feel better. I want to feel this way. And when it became a, about like I just wanted the end result. Yeah,
Yeah.
I drunk for the effect. I used for the effect. Right now, I embrace life in a way that's like I take. There's a bit of pride in. Oh, I can get through that, or you can call me for that. Because I can do that. Like, but in that, it's not just like, okay, yeah, I want to be the person who can do that. Like,
Hmm.
but it's like I know what it means to do that because I've had the experience. I know what you're asking for. Like some people may just look at like the title of what it is that the listing is or whatever it is that you're requesting. But me, I know the meaning behind it because there's a person behind that
Hmm.
can show up and contribute in that way that has to have had that experience. And a big part of what anything that I've been able to contribute to has been me being able to leverage my experience. And so I welcome said experience. And
Yeah.
that's way different than, like I want to be a millionaire. I want to be a billionaire. I want to be a therapist. I want to be a astronaut. And it's cool. And I'm actually working with my son right now too about figuring that out. Cause we could say like, I want to be a director. I want to be a filmmaker. And it's like, that's dope. And like that doesn't begin and end with us watching movies and criticizing them. Like you
Right.
gotta have a conversation with the people that are doing it. You gotta pick up the editing software. You gotta go out with your phone and do things. Like I don't care how
Hmm.
foolish it feels. Like let's just do it. You know what I'm saying? And just like
Yeah.
fill it out as we go. And then it's
Yeah.
like maybe eventually we are, our name rolls on the credit, but ultimately, like we're the person who seeks to tell stories visually, and that's Like
Yeah.
it's about being versus like getting, and that's still
Yeah.
something that I like. I can struggle with a little bit. Hence the tingles.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, that feels very human. Um, yeah. And it's so easy to like skip over stuff, skip over time, to be like, all right, we just got to do this thing. We're telling stories with our cell phone out in the world until we get to that other thing. Whereas, like, I mean, you're going to look back at this time someday doing that with your awesome son. You know what I mean? Like, this is it too. There's no like, we're just going to get through this to get to this. It's like, no, the thing you're getting through is a thing that you deserves your attention. Which again, like, as with everything, we can talk about it in recovery. When I was teaching yoga at the treatment center, there's people that would come back. I think there's very frequently people do treatment several times before they really, feel solid in recovery. And there's nothing wrong with that. But often there would be somebody that would go through, their 30 or 45 days. And then a year or something later, I'd see them again and they would like be so different. They'd be like, yeah, I'm like in this now. And like, they'd be like paying attention in the groups and showing up on time. They would come to every one of my yoga classes, and they weren't there just for the thing that was on the other side of it. Like, certainly that was the major motivator, but they were like, no, I need to actually get this. This isn't just like to get through so that then I can just be the sober person. I'm all better and like, woohoo, done. It's to like the things I'm learning here, they matter, for my life in general and the relationships I'm developing here, like both with myself and with the people around me. Like, holy crap, yoga might be something that I want to do long term. It's such a different mindset. And those would be the people that would like, leave and be able to use those tools. Typically, obviously everybody's journey is different, but and those are also the people that, if I would talk to after, would just talk about how much they enjoyed their time in freaking treatment, which is just not a thing you hear a lot, but like, it is like, what a beautiful thing to give to yourself, to have that time to just take care of you. And I don't know, all the things that you learn about yourself in that period of time, which is hard.
Yeah. Yep. It's hard. It's rough. But in my experience, it's 100% worth it. And we are glad that you're here on this journey with us. We're glad that you're tuning in to this show, because I think that speaks to your curiosity around how to show up for your life and for yourself and for those around you and for your community. And we're just glad to have you here. And see, Liz, I told you at the front end, these conversations end up being exactly what they're supposed to be. So
they are. I know. It's amazing. You're right yet again.
That's like the 30% to the 80%. But yeah, holla at us. Hop in the Phoenix app and go to the Rise, Recover, Live podcast space and tell us about some of the times that you've learned yourself again. How many times have you rediscovered yourself? What have been some specific times in your life where it's like, oh, like I was this, but now I'm this. And then I evolved into this, because this thing is not a linear process. And hopefully Liz and I can be an example of how not linear this process is.
Yeah. We will illustrate the squiggly line that is the process. So you're squiggling at ya.
So holla at us in a space, and we will catch you on the next episode of the Rise, Recover, Live podcast.